found that this is a paradise on earth. We have many plants which are very rare, which are very endemic to this place. The number of populations of these plants that we have in nature are very less. There is every likelihood that because of wanton, say, use of resources, profligate use of resources, we may have further dwindling of these populations beyond minimum viable population level that would lead to their extinction. Now, it is in this context, we had a workshop here. It is under the aegis of the National Mission on Himalayan Studies. We had a couple of projects. And in those projects, one of the components is that you have to create awareness. We have to create awareness about ecological issues that the humanity faces or the people in Kashmir face. And it is not for the scientific community only. Instead, it is for bureaucrat, it is for a politician, it is for a filmmaker, it is for an artist, it is for any person belonging to any walk of life, that he appreciates the issues, has an opinion about this issue, and thinks of doing something at his own level by which he is going to make a difference to the environment and build up the pressure on the powers that be, that you have to take corrective measures in this regard. Reason being that we have a stake in this environment, our children have a stake in this environment. We have nowhere to go except for this place. I mean, even if we go, but the memories of homeland, in this type of a landscape we may not find elsewhere. And as such, that would bring certain emotional, psychological problems also to us. And as such, it has to be brought home to everybody that we have to, under all sorts of circumstances, we have to preserve the ecology and environment of this place for the larger benefit of the generations to come. This has been the major, say, the underlying principle of organizing this. Alhamdulillah, it was very nice that we had people like you, people like Shafkat Habib, other, say, people who participated in this. We hope to continue in this direction. We hope to build, say, a sort of a citizenry which believes in certain common themes of environmental preservation and conservation, so that a sort of a movement gets built up around certain well-stated, defined objectives, and we compel every, say, citizen, every conscious citizen of this to think about those issues and make a difference at his own level, at this level of family, and at the level of a mohalla, then at the level of the state. This is our future, and if we do not contribute our bit to this, we will be failing ourselves and we will be failing our future generations.
Ordinarily, the concept is that once we try to create a plan, be it a plantation plant, be it, say, construction of certain tourist resorts, etc., one must take into consideration primarily the environmentalists, the botanists and naturalists who can give us a guideline as to what parameters we should follow. I'll just again quote one example. In Gulmarg, 5 years back, a 5-star hotel was constructed. At the time of construction, we saw ourselves, we were there. They chopped off 50 conifers. Chopped off 50 conifers and constructed a 5-star hotel. Then we visited after 2 years, after the hotel was done. Around that, they had chopped up another 50 conifers. Now visualize what is happening. Government is allowing them to construct those hotels, and that hotel construction is in turn facilitating destruction of whatever natural wealth we had inherited. We had not planted those conifers, it was a natural heritage, and we are allowing them to destroy that. And automatically, once such hotel is constructed, gradually one more hotel, one more restaurant, one more park will be constructed, and that park will in turn also destroy. About a couple of years back, Anzar and me, along with our scholars, we visited Tajwas Glacier, and we were so surprised that government had constructed a path to that area. The question here is, what is the need of constructing a path in a natural wild habitat? Because ordinarily, if you keep it as wild as it is more beautiful as compared to once we construct a road. Construction of road is destruction of a huge wealth of herbs, shrubs, microbes, etc., which are lying in that soil. We block those. and this construction continues. Government claims we have uplifted the tourist resorts, but we actually oppose that, because construction of that type is destroying the habitats where wonderful natural wealth was existing. In terms of plants, in terms of animals, in terms of microbes, birds, we are destroying that. But that phenomenon is not recognized by the government as such. We have actually righted it to the concerned quarters that this should not be done, despite that they do it. I'll compare that with what I have seen in Uttaranchal, Himachal. If we visit a forest, at the time of entry, we cross-check whether we carry with us something. And once we come back, we again check whether we carry with us something or not. Because they want that we should only visit, assess, analyze, document, and come back empty-handed. When we look at the invasions, in that, obviously, not only it can be a natural sort of carrier, like it can be a bird, it can be a high velocity wind, it can be sometimes animals, etc. But we are also carriers. Mr. Akhtar will bear me out. Once we visited Ladakh a few years back, wherever we stopped, wherever we stopped for having a cup of tea or have a sit there for some time for resting purposes, we found that those areas were depicting growth of those plants which are not reported in Ladakh. Automatically, perhaps travelers, they might have stopped there, they might have carried them with them, and the seeds, other propagules were dropped, and they in turn gave rise to small populations. And once we visited again a couple of years back, in those areas, we found that even though we had reported just a few plants, now we see huge communities established of those plants which are unreported, unknown in those areas. Reflecting again that it can be sometimes a natural calamity or natural carrier like, say, wind, water, birds, animals, etc. Or it sometimes can be we people also. We can in turn also carry this. But here important is that we should assess what are the impacts of these. We should assess what could be our role, not only to document the invasion as a whole, but also try to see what could be preventive and protective measures for that. Because if we only assess, that is simply a documentation of what is the number or the habitat variability in these. But important is, what are the preventive measures that can be actually recommended so that these invasive species or other such factors are not destroying what we have inherited.
Today's basically workshop was organized under the aegis of these two research projects to make it sure that all the stakeholders, be it the research scholars, be it the faculty of the university, be it the Department of Forests, be it the Department of Wildlife, we get them, be it the people from media for that matter, we get them on board on a common platform and deliberate upon the issues which are there on the ground for, recovering the species which have basically gone rare over the years, and they have basically gone now on the brink of extinction. How we can basically put in place the scientific strategies to restore them, to recover them. This was one. And then second, this problem of invasive species is a major problem, and how actually we can have effective predictive system in place, predictive models in place, so as to predict invasive species at a very early stage, so for their effective management. And then if they are not predicted well in time, if they are now already in the landscape, be it the Dal Lake, be it the forest, be it the other landscapes, if they are already there, which are the approach that we can basically employ to manage them well. So as to because this is not going to be a kind of single strata issue, all the other strata of the society, I mean the civil society, the government, the non-governmental agencies, academia, as I said, the other stakeholders, forest department and wildlife department, most important, they have to be on board. And one of the successes of this workshop today was that people from all across disciplines turned up. We had a series of, after the inaugural session, a series of talks by experts in these fields, in all these three areas: threatened species, invasive species and overall biodiversity management. We also had then a very effective panel discussion in which all stakeholders deliberated upon the issues, how best we can basically brush our shoulders together to implement the conservation plans effectively on ground.
Stephen Hawking writes that when I was traveling back to my own place, the idea struck me that jokingly, though, but these two guys had said something very great. And ethics demands that I convey the greatness of the idea to these two people. And in case they are desirous of coming over to my lab and pursuing this idea, it can translate into something big. And he narrates this episode stating that I have the rare distinction that entire class got Nobel Prize. And that class was represented by those two students who had asked that crazy question. And both of them got Nobel Prize. It started with a pretty, a joke because they wanted to get rid of it. They were feeling bored. The mentor, Stephen Hawking was also a person of eminence. He could sense that there is value in what they were saying.
In fact, this gives me strength to move much higher and higher. So this is really an encouragement for me. I'm really privileged to have a mentor like Zafar Saab for my PhD, because that is why that spark has been ignited. I don't claim that I have done something a noble, quote unquote, but always we strive to do something good given the conditions we are in this University of Kashmir. These days, this climate change is the talk of the town. But in the heart of heart, always you are uncertain, whatever you are talking about climate change. To me, same is the case with invasive species also. As Zafar Saab rightly put out that some Professor Khanna asked a very pertinent question whether native species can be invasive species. That's why I took a lesser risk path of talking about these threatened plants. My talk is entitled as Threatened Flora of Jammu and Kashmir State. I'll be talking a little bit about current stats, what we know about threatened flora of J&K State. This will be a mix of not too much technical. It will be science, but from which can be prepared it in the sense that there are officials from Forest Department. They could also understand, students, research scholars. They should also get a lead out of the slides that I have prepared here.
Unfortunately, in Kashmir, because of very obvious reasons, presumably we are overlooking these signals. Reason is that we have problems, different types of problems, social, economic, political, and those issues overshadow these environmental issues. And I must tell you that we have to bring home this point that the social systems, economic systems, right, are inextricably meshed with our environment. And in case, God forbid, something happens with this environment, now everything would turn upside down. I'll give you one small example. We have this horticulture industry, 6,000 crore industry. It's a very backbone of our economy. And if we have warm winters, there is a possibility that you may not have good flowering, flowers, and consequently there may be yield decline. Now, either you have to say adapt this species, you have to have new species, new varieties of apple which do not require the cold chilling winter periods, or else you have to take care that I don't damage the environment to the extent that it costs my economy dearly. One. Second, dull is around you. You don't have, there are places where you don't have water bodies, but it is something very unique to our system. And it is a sort of we have evolved, people have, civilization has evolved around this dull. And if it goes away, the very civilization which revered this lake would basically naturally, it would not be there, and then there would be, say, those stories that there used to be a lake like this. Presumably we are taking things for granted. It is high time we don't take the nature's bounty for granted. We act responsibly. We create sufficient awareness in one and all that you have to, take the stewardship of this earth in your own hands and undertake measures which not only provide you social and economic security, but also ensure that there is long-term sustainable utilization of resources for local economic growth.